Welcome to Kiss and Tell Stories. Enjoy the story and have a great time listening. Male leads are everywhere here, like stray dogs running wild in the streets. In the hospital, there was only one bag of rare blood left. The infatuated male lead, on the verge of madness, shouted, "Give this blood to Emma. I choose Emma. Isabella, you can surely survive on your own." The pure-hearted female lead, lying weakly on the bed, was so touched she nearly burst into tears, thinking, "I'm crying too. How can any human even do something like this?" But the doctor calmly told the nurse, "Give the panda blood to bed number 10 first." Hearing that, the love-crazed male lead could no longer bear it. His eyes bulged, mouth agape, looking like he might snatch it by force. "I said it's for Emma. Without this blood, she'd die," he roared. "Really?" The doctor, holding the blood test results, was momentarily speechless. "She has regular type A blood. How exactly would she die without this rare blood? Please explain it to me." In this insane world, domineering CEOs are as common as stray dogs on the streets. And pure, innocent female leads appear around every corner. Those classic scenes grabbing the waist with reddened eyes, shouting, "I'd die for you," or, "Girl, you've successfully caught my attention," play out endlessly. Basically, they run. The male leads chase after them. And even if the girls grew wings, they wouldn't be able to escape. But me? I'm different. Low salary, high risk. Massive mental pressure because I'm the only side character female here. Like today, while walking down the street, I happened to pass a red-eyed CEO, speeding toward the airport to chase after his wife. Meanwhile, I was just happily heading to KFC. But guess what? His car crashed into the divider. Bricks flew into the air and, from 100 meters away, hit us. We both ended up in the hospital. He's now in the ICU, comatose and suffering from amnesia. The female lead rushed back from the airport, sobbing like it was the end of the world. Meanwhile, I'm lying in a regular hospital room, my head wrapped up like a mummy. How stupid. This side character didn't want to stay another day. But the old butler of the CEO handed me a check for 100 million. His face full of guilt. "Miss Isabella, we truly apologize. This is your medical compensation," he said. Suddenly, I remembered why I agreed to be a side character in the first place. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I cried almost too enthusiastically. I admit I was a bit loud just now. Next time something this good happens, please make sure to find me again. Meanwhile, the white moonlight female lead was devastated. She cried so much that no one in the ward could sleep. Finally, I had no choice but to stick my head out and shout at her, "Stop crying already. He'll wake up in 3 days. Save your energy. You two still have 300 chapters worth of angst ahead. You'll have plenty of time to cry later." White moonlight sobbed harder, completely misunderstanding my good intentions. Even the old butler found her endless crying a bad omen. And by the next morning, he had transferred the CEO to another hospital. I breathed a sigh of relief. But just when I thought peace had returned, a new female lead appeared in my ward. This time, it was probably a tragic coming-of-age story. The new girl looked pure and youthful, her face glowing with collagen, tinted with sorrow and stubbornness. She lay on the hospital bed, wrists slashed by something sharp, her long hair flowing over the bed like seaweed. Her frail body looked almost ghostly, her pale, delicate face so translucent that it actually frightened me. I tried to quietly eat my KFC takeout, not even daring to bite too loudly into my crispy chicken for fear of ruining the romantic, melancholic atmosphere around her. Fortunately, the male lead from her tragic coming-of-age novel finally arrived. The male lead, dressed in a white shirt, pushed open the door and walked in, his eyes bloodshot. "Emma, did you really think doing this would make me forgive you?" He growled. "No way. I want you to live well so that we can descend into hell together." As soon as he finished speaking, the coming-of-age female lead's pale face grew even whiter, almost translucent. Tears welled up in her eyes, and her frail body looked like it might collapse at any moment. She stared at him with a gaze full of unsaid words, fragile like a pear blossom weeping in the rain. It was strangely entertaining to watch, but I still felt a little unsatisfied until the female lead seemed to make up her mind about something. I had no idea what she was thinking. She suddenly grabbed a small algae scraper from the elderly patient's bedside and, without hesitation, slashed her own arm. I shot out of bed. "Nurse, get over here!" I shouted. "Security, get this idiot out of here!" As a side character, I couldn't avoid running into some of these foolish main characters. Judging from the situation, it was clear I wasn't going to make any money this time, and I had even lost half a box of my uneaten fried chicken. I didn't bother hiding my contempt for the male lead of this tragic youth story. "So, did you come here to visit the patient, or to harm people?" I snapped. "Other visitors at least bring 2 apples when they come. You show up empty-handed with nothing but a loud mouth, and you're talking about dragging her to hell. The morgue's in the basement. Why don't you take the elevator down and enjoy a stroll there yourself?" The foolish male lead's face was filled with stubbornness, along with a faint hint of worry and anxiety if you looked closely enough. Just looking at him made me want to punch him. But he was a male lead, and I was just a side character. So I had no choice but to swallow my anger and return to my hospital bed. Meanwhile, the female lead had been restrained. She was trembling, tears filling her eyes, a complex mix of love and hatred. At that moment, a nurse pushed a small cart into the room, carrying medical supplies and medicine. The doctor told the nurse, "There's only 1 bag of rare blood left. Use it for bed number 10 first." Those words hit the foolish male lead like a slap to the face. He suddenly snapped out of his madness, his entire body trembling. All the resentment and hatred from the past seemed to vanish in an instant. In that moment, there was only the injured girl in front of him, with her bleeding wounds. The male lead was on the verge of breaking down. "This blood is for Emma," he screamed, frenzied and desperate. "Save Emma first. You must let her live." We all wanted to say something but decided against it. The doctor, ignoring the male lead entirely, just instructed the nurse, "Take bed number 10 for the blood transfusion." This left the male lead gaping, eyes wide with disbelief. He looked like he wanted to snatch the blood bag away himself. "I already said, this blood is for Emma. Without it, she'd die," he yelled. "Really?" The doctor, holding the blood test results, was at a loss for words. "She has normal type A blood. How exactly would she die without this rare blood? Please explain it to me." I was discharged from the hospital, while the coming-of-age female lead was transferred to the psychiatric ward. Honestly, I thought she really needed a mental health evaluation. What sane person starts slashing themselves with a knife? Terrifying. Once I was out, I had bigger things to do. That afternoon, I immediately took the CEO's 100 million check and caught a taxi to the bank. If I remembered correctly, in the CEO novel world, the male lead was at risk of going bankrupt. Now that the money was in my hands, I had to act fast otherwise. If he tangled with the female lead again, my medical compensation might vanish into thin air. After so many years of being a side character, I had never suffered much hardship. Money was the only thing that motivated me. That's why, when a robber shot out the flower pot at the bank's entrance, I didn't even blink. I just frantically urged the bank clerk, Hurry! Transfer the money from the check into my account. Hurry up! The bank clerk, terrified, fumbled as she verified my fingerprint and completed the transaction. The money successfully entered my account. I was practically giddy with joy. But the next second, the robber advanced toward us. He raised his hand, looking like he was about to slap each of us. I was scared out of my mind. The money had just entered my account. If I died now, all my years of struggle would be for nothing. Without thinking, I immediately dropped to my knees and clung to his leg. Sir, please. Let's talk this out. Don't get angry. The robber gave me a suspicious look but didn't shoot. Instead, he grabbed me by the collar and dragged me toward the door, planning to use me as a hostage. Hostage? I instantly went on high alert and turned to look at the other hostage next to me. And what did I see? A proud, stubborn-faced dame, another female lead. Judging by her expensive designer clothes, she was definitely a rich heiress type. My heart sank. I overheard the two robbers whispering, "Taking the young miss from the Davis family is a smart move. As for that other woman, she's nothing. Why bother taking her?" The guy holding me shrugged. "I don't know, man. I just felt like grabbing her. Maybe she can be used as a human shield." My whole body was trembling. So the heiress of the Davis family deserves to be shielded. But my life doesn't matter. Hold on. I looked at the female lead again and noticed the watch she was wearing. It had to be worth over 100 million. Right. I was definitely the more suitable choice to take the bullet for the heiress. A loud explosion shook the building. Trying to appear magnificent, I threw myself into the scene just in time to see the robber about to slap the female lead. Without hesitation, I dropped to my knees again, clutching the female lead and crying out, "Sir, hit me if you must. Please hit me instead." As expected from a female lead, she looked utterly stunned and confused by my sudden embrace. The robbers exchanged glances, unsure of what to do. Just then, the bank's security doors exploded outward. Surrounded by dozens of bodyguards, a man in a trench coat strode in. His face carried an expression of arrogance, stubbornness, and cold detachment, 5 parts indifference, 3 parts disdain, and 2 parts frost. He swept his gaze over the room and spoke in a calm, chilly voice. "How much money do you want to release them?" The 2 robbers, who had taken me and the female lead hostage, glanced at each other. "We don't want money, Mr. Du. We only want you to make a choice," one of them said. "Your childhood friend, Miss Vi, is currently under our control. You can only choose to save one person, your fiancé's or your childhood sweetheart." The female lead beside me immediately turned red-eyed with shock, disbelief flashing across her face, quickly replaced by the deathly pallor of crushed hope. How could he choose her over me? She mocked herself for her blind devotion. How could he choose her? Sure enough, the male lead frowned, his face twisting with inner conflict and turmoil. He stood there silently for a long time. But when he finally looked back at us, his expression had turned cold and sharp. "You came prepared. If you're not after money, then your target is clearly me," the male lead said with a sneer. "So, what? Whichever one I choose, that person will die, correct?" The 2 robbers said nothing. I twitched at the corner of my mouth. "If you want to deal with him so badly, why didn't you just kidnap him directly? Why drag us into this mess?" One of the robbers shot me a glance. At that moment, another person stumbled into the room, young, well-dressed and obviously rich. A second male lead, no doubt. "I choose Mia Davis," he shouted desperately. "Take whatever money you want. I just want Mia Davis to live." The female lead stared at him, stunned, her face a complex mixture of emotions. "Noah, you bastard!" she cried. The new male lead immediately lunged at the original male lead, and they started brawling. "You know Mia Davis is carrying your child, And yet you still hesitate. He shouted furiously. How dare you? I watched the chaos unfold with a complicated expression. Wonderful. The classic love triangle. Kidnapping scene is playing out. Perfectly, fists flying, hearts breaking, and no one knowing who to choose. A small red sniper laser quietly appeared on the forehead of one of the robbers. The next moment, he collapsed backward. The remaining robber froze in shock for a second, before a punch knocked him to the ground. A swift and fierce figure rushed over and slammed straight into the robber's face. What's there to choose? A young, handsome undercover police officer roared. I want both hostages safe. Ah. He must be another male lead. Of course. By the time I left the bank, the police were still lecturing the arrogant CEO male lead and the wealthy. Young master, you're both adults. When faced with a criminal act that endangers citizens' lives, how could you even think of compromising with the criminals? The police officer couldn't understand at all. This isn't some family game. Losing even one hostage means destroying an entire family's future. Naturally, the male leads didn't care in the slightest. I was used to it. In this world, there are plenty of ordinary people, but far too many abnormal ones. Just as I was about to leave, the heiress female lead stopped me. She sincerely thanked me, then took me to a shopping mall. She said, "Today, I'll pay for everything you pick." Very well. This was, after all, a romance novel. Unable to resist her enthusiasm, I reluctantly walked into a random store and casually glanced at a ring. Maybe this was just the fate of a side character. The sales assistant eagerly brought the ring over and slid it onto my finger. Just then, a shy voice piped up next to me. I want to see that ring too. I froze. Sure enough, the next second, a cold male voice said to me, "Take it off. Not just anyone is worthy of wearing that." The man speaking looked about 30 years old, dressed sharply in a suit. His face carried 3 parts coldness, 3 parts arrogance, 3 parts disdain, and 1 part lingering affection. It was obvious at a glance. A typical domineering businessman male lead. And the girl standing next to him looked pitifully delicate, unable to fend for herself. Her innocent, foolish face full of naivety. 6. Turns out it was the domineering CEO and his little wifey. But the woman standing next to me wasn't someone to mess with either. When the arrogant man made his comment, the wealthy heiress next to me refused to back down. "I'll give it to you. You just have to pay for me to pick out another one, all right?" It was just money after all. Without hesitation, the CEO male lead agreed. Thus, in this luxury jewelry store, the romantic male lead tenderly held the white rabbit. Female lead's delicate hand and shyly slid the ring onto her finger. It was truly an unbearable sight. Meanwhile, I, holding his credit card full of affection, for money, happily swiped it at the POS machine. It was just a diamond ring, after all. Why bother fighting over it? Casually, I used his card to buy 2 giant 5-carat diamond rings, each the size of a pigeon egg. That's right. I even bought 2 rings. This male lead might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but he definitely had money. He swiped for hundreds of millions. And the bank didn't even blink, no calls, no verification. While the domineering CEO was still busy being all lovey-dovey with his white rabbit, completely unaware of the unusual spending on his card. I quickly asked the sales clerk to wrap everything up. I stuffed the 2 rings into a bag, grabbed the rich heiress female lead, and bolted out of the store. Congratulations. Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness and many children. I shouted as I ran. I left your card on the counter. They didn't even notice. Still lost in their sweet bubble of romance. They couldn't care less about the world around them. The rich heiress beside me stood frozen in shock. She was still caught up in the fury of her earlier confrontation. This isn't a big deal, right? He did it willingly, after all. She mumbled, confused. With a big grin, I pulled out one of the 5-carat diamond rings from my bag and slipped it onto her finger. Generous as ever, I proudly gifted it to her. Her hand trembled. Never in her 20 years as a wealthy heiress had she received her first 5-carat diamond ring from a complete stranger. No less. She hesitated for a moment, then quickly pulled off the ring and tried to return it. "I don't want anything from that man," she said, clearly disgusted. "It's an eyesore." I was instantly furious. I used my own skills to get him to swipe his card and buy these rings. "I'm giving this diamond ring to you. It's my gift. I earned it with my ability, so this is something I bought." She stood there dumbfounded, completely floored by my flawless logic. Such behavior, if placed in a heart-wrenching tragedy novel, would definitely be considered a major emotional explosion. My righteous and spirited speech had truly left her shaken for a lifetime. In the end, all she could do was say, "Then, thank you." Satisfied, I waved my hand and replied, "No need to thank me." The heiress, wearing the enormous diamond ring, stood there stunned, watching as I walked away gracefully. Suddenly, she seemed to remember something and chased after me. "Will we ever meet again?" she called out. I turned back and asked, "Why would you want to meet me again?" She hesitated for a moment and then said, "Because you're a little strange. But I think it's a good kind of strange." "Forget it," I waved dismissively. "I'm just a side character. You'll turn around and forget me in no time." She lowered her head, almost as if talking to herself, and murmured, "It's strange. I'm the female lead. I already have everything. I'm always protected. I never have to work, just lie around and have a man adore me. Yet somehow, you seem so much happier than I am." Of course, I knew exactly why she wasn't happy. After all, this world had been twisted like this for a long time. It wasn't a new problem. The streets were flooded with domineering CEOs, soft-hearted female leads everywhere, and the plots were all the same. I could predict the next chapter with my eyes closed, because the male lead would always be arrogant, cold, dangerously charming, and crazily possessive, while the female lead had to be soft, pure, kind, and endlessly tolerant. They could do whatever they wanted, and the girls could only please them, passively waiting for scraps of affection. Someone without strength or power, trapped in a role called female lead. How could that ever make anyone truly happy? Pancakes don't just fall from the sky, but Lin Dayu might. 2 days after we parted, the heiress actually contacted me. She had investigated my background and found out that I ran a small business. Then, she even sent me a business partnership offer. Was there really such good fortune? After receiving the call, I immediately brought a USB with all the company's materials and headed to her company. But as soon as I pushed open the office door, the person I saw was her older brother. Of course, female leads, like her, usually didn't have the right to inherit family businesses. "Are you satisfied with what you see?" The CEO older brother nodded arrogantly at me. "Since you gave my sister some face, I'll give you a chance to impress me." Suddenly, this easy meal became a lot harder to swallow. But for the sake of making money, I wasn't afraid to lose a little pride. So, I spent 3 full hours passionately explaining my cooperation plan, talking so much that the CEO brother's legs went numb from sitting. His body went stiff, but he still stubbornly muttered, "You're a troublesome woman, all right? Fine. I'll lower the project's profit margin by 10%. Consider it compensation for my mental suffering." Still, her family was truly a massive business empire. This CEO brother casually assessed the project and signed the contract right then and there. "Satisfied," he said. "Good. From now on, you're my person." Hearing that, I almost rolled my eyes into the back of my head. You might have my work, but you'll never have my heart. He looked at me like I was an idiot, full of disdain. Why would I need your heart? I just need your labor. I've invested in your project, do it well. Don't let me lose money. He narrowed his eyes, adding coldly, What are you even thinking? Don't forget your place. You're playing with fire. Honestly, even in the world of domineering CEOs, this level of arrogance was something else. He still dared to look down on me. I stared at him, mouth agape in disbelief. But then he suddenly chuckled. My sister said you were strange. And you really are. The CEO brother looked at me with great interest. Normally, women who come to this office are begging on the half of their fathers' or brothers' companies. But you came here for your own company. Maybe I've been out of touch with society for too long. I didn't expect women to be running businesses now. I answered bluntly. There's a lot you didn't expect. He immediately choked on his coffee. Very good, young lady. You really are different. You make me quite intrigued. The CEO's older brother said. A woman like you, struggling so hard on your own, it must be tough, right? If you just found a man to rely on, let him support you. Your life would be much more comfortable. Oh my God. The entire afternoon. No matter how outrageous the CEO's words had been, none of them shocked me as much as this sentence did. So I smiled back and said, If finding such a good man is that easy, why don't you find one for yourself? I turned to question him directly. Why do you insist on clinging to your family's company instead of handing it over to your sister and retiring at home? The CEO's older brother was stunned, his expression shifting from shock to anger to utter confusion. Not giving him a chance to react, I rolled my eyes at him and added, That kind of blessing, you want it. Of course you don't. If you don't want it, why should I? When clients offered me food, I changed tables. When they invited me to drink, I refused. When they sang karaoke, I switched the songs. With that spirit, I was like a raging flood. In the corporate world, the CEO had never encountered a woman like me before. That's why he was so furious he could hardly even spew. His usual arrogant nonsense. You're pushing my limits, he said, seething. I firmly rejected him. What limits? It's not written in the contract, so I don't recognize it. I held up the contract and pointed directly at the breach clause. Or better yet, let's just terminate our cooperation. You'll have to compensate my company. 500,000. Thanks for your generosity. The domineering CEO was left speechless. Paying that sum would make him look like a typical rich CEO, who threw money around like water. But if he really did pay, he'd look like a complete fool. Clearly, he didn't want to be the fool among landlords and tycoons. At that moment, all he wanted was for me to get out immediately. Fine. Lose to the situation, but never lose face. I slammed the door shut with a loud bang as I stormed out, even making sure to slam it extra hard to show just how dissatisfied I was. Seeing the CEO fly into a rage, his young secretary, terrified, hurriedly escorted me to the door. Our CEO is not a bad person, she said. I'm fine, I replied. I don't think he's a bad person. I just think he's nothing good either. As we passed by the door of a large conference room, we saw a man with a gloomy aura cornering a frail woman against the wall. He looked crazed, his eyes bloodshot, his gestures erratic. I told you I would lock you up so no one could see you. How dare you still go out to work and attend meetings? Now everyone has seen you. What am I supposed to do with them? The male lead laughed dangerously, coldly. He stroked the female lead's face and spoke slowly, each word like venom from a snake. Do you like being stared at that much? Or should I gift you their eyes? The female lead, stubborn and sorrowful like a white flower, said, It was all my idea. It has nothing to do with them. I just passing by. Somehow got dragged into the list of people whose eyes were to be gouged out. The little secretary and I exchanged a look. Is this the classic possessive Yanda-type male lead? I muttered. I glanced into the meeting room. Brother, there are at least over 100 people in there. You think you can take them all on? Still talking about gouging eyes? The Yanda male lead froze. He looked at the meeting room. At the same time, more than 100 employees, all now on the list to be blinded, silently stared back at him. Enemies many, allies few. He was clearly outnumbered. The crazy male lead fell silent for a moment. He wasn't stupid. He could only grit his teeth and say, "I'll let it go this time." "Oh, so you do know how to compromise," I said. The Yanda male lead couldn't stand me either. He turned furiously to the secretary. "Who is this girl? Why is she even here?" The little secretary didn't dare answer. In just 10 short minutes, 2 men had tried to kick me out. I was furious, but just then the secretary's phone rang. She answered, listened for a couple of sentences, and then froze. After a moment, she handed the phone to me. Just as I reached out to take it, I heard the domineering CEO's voice bark through the speaker. "I hear there's chaos outside. What crazy stunt are you pulling again?" Without changing my expression, I directly hung up the phone. When he called back, I answered, then hung up again. The domineering CEO went completely insane. Immediately after, a gloomy-looking man appeared in the hallway, charging toward me aggressively, clearly up to no good. Sensing that the situation was bad, I turned and ran. "Stop right there," he shouted furiously. "You damned woman! Do you really think you can escape from me?" I turned back, flashed him a bright smile, and then ran even faster. Looks like in just an hour of interacting with me, the great CEO has already reached enlightenment. I laughed. That smile of mine somehow created a brief moment of unspoken connection between us. I am going to escape, I thought. Of course I'm going to escape. It's not like I lost my legs or anything. Why wouldn't I be able to run away? At the company entrance, I was running wildly and ended up crashing straight into the eldest daughter. The female lead, the eldest daughter, looked anxious. "Brother, I told you she's the one who saved my life. Why are you trying to throw her out?" she scolded. The domineering CEO was so furious he was seeing stars. He rushed over, panting heavily, completely losing all reason. He didn't even care about how people were staring at him. He reached out to grab me, but I immediately darted behind the eldest daughter for protection. The eldest daughter also grew angry. "Brother," she snapped. The domineering CEO suddenly regained a bit of clarity. He muttered. He took a deep breath, then another, and another, trying to calm himself down. "Hello, boss," I said sweetly, playing innocent. "I know I'm amazing, but you really didn't have to chase after me like that." The domineering CEO was so furious he almost fainted. But the eldest daughter, unaware of the whole situation, held my hand warmly and said, "I didn't even get a chance to thank you properly last time, or buy you anything to show my gratitude. My brother said he'd let you have a money-making project. Has the contract been signed yet?" I nodded. Thank you. It's already been signed." "No need to be so polite," she smiled, though there was a trace of sadness in her expression. "I wish I could be like you," she added softly. That one sentence made the domineering CEO instantly sober up. He frowned, his voice turning cold. "Did that brat bully you again?" The eldest daughter lowered her head. "It's nothing, brother," she said softly. "He's parked outside. If he hears anything, it wouldn't be good. This is just my fate." The domineering CEO's face immediately darkened with rage. At that point, he no longer even cared about me. He strode quickly toward the door, and I also turned to look in that direction. Sure enough, the male lead, the rich young master, who had been surrounded by bodyguards at the bank last time, had arrived. In his eyes, it was still the same familiar formula: 5 parts indifference, 3 parts disdain, and 2 parts coldness. He lazily opened his mouth and called out, "Brother!" Without hesitation, the domineering CEO punched him straight in the face. The young master fell to the ground on the spot. Chaos immediately erupted. The young master's bodyguards scrambled to protect him, while the company's security guards rushed over to help their own CEO. The domineering CEO directly engaged in a fistfight with the young master. "I told you, you have to treat her well. Otherwise I won't forgive you," he roared, overpowering the young master slightly. "Is bullying women what you call being a man?" he shouted. The young master's face was bruised and battered, looking utterly disheveled, but he sneered coldly. "We agreed from the beginning, it was a contractual marriage. She's the one who broke her promise and made things difficult for Amelia. Amelia was already in poor health, and now she's suffering from kidney failure. It's her debt to Amelia. She should be the one to repay it." The eldest daughter stood silently to the side. I unconsciously clenched my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palms. Hearing this, the domineering CEO grew even angrier. But he wasn't good with words. He didn't know how to argue back. "Davis Mia is carrying your child already," he shouted. "Isn't she, and your own child, worth more than your cousin?" The young master laughed coldly again. "That child of hers was just part of her scheme too," he said with disdain. "How could they even be compared?" Hearing that, the eldest daughter's face darkened instantly, and the domineering CEO froze. This created the perfect opportunity for the young master. He got up and gave the CEO a vicious punch. Blood gushed from the CEO's nose immediately. At this point, everything was unfolding exactly like the classic plotlines. Because she was the female lead, she had to passively endure all the pain, longing for love and pity from the male lead, persisting through injuries, heartbreak, and betrayal, just to fulfill the fantasy of deep, belated love, as if it were our inevitable fate. This was the fate of all female leads in romance novels. But the domineering CEO, furious and covering his bleeding nose, suddenly turned his head and caught sight of me. At that moment, his rage surged up to his throat. "Very well, Noah, you brought this upon yourself." He gritted his teeth. Then he shouted at me, "You, come here. If you can piss him off to death, I'll pay you for it." Ordered by the boss, I momentarily froze. Instead, I grabbed the eldest daughter's hand, gently prying her fingers open, so she wouldn't continue digging her nails into her own palm. She looked at me, stunned. Why is it like this?" she whispered through her tears. "Why would he treat me this way? Why is my life like this?" Yes, according to the plot, she was supposed to cry now, and no one would answer her. I stayed silent for a long moment. Then I said, "Because this world demands so little from men," I replied softly. "But it is brutally harsh on us." "Yes, because we are the female leads. We are expected to be weak, unable to fend for ourselves, to be brainless, forever passive, waiting for men to rescue us, expected to endure every wound and heartbreak, and still ultimately bless the reunion and deep love of the ones who hurt us. It's like we, as women, are born incapable of excelling at science, must spend enormous time and effort maintaining our looks, aren't allowed to inherit family businesses, must meticulous care for our hair, skin, and nails, must nitpick and criticize each other, and that our worth is entirely measured by how well we can cling to a man, as a mistress, a wife, or a lover. After all, the female lead could never just be an ordinary person. The eldest daughter fell silent too. She said softly, I don't want to be treated like this. I want to be a little more normal. I want to live better. I advised her. All right then, if you want to become an ordinary person, what should you do? The eldest daughter sank into deep thought. That's right. She needed to face the current situation with the mindset of a normal person, to act with the thinking of a complete, healthy human being. After a moment of reflection, she turned back to look at the man in front of her. She asked, "You said Amelia's kidney failure was caused by me. Do you have any proof?" The young master male lead froze for a second, but he quickly regained his arrogant and disdainful attitude. "You're the only one who didn't like her, so obviously it must have been you. Why would I need proof?" The eldest daughter nodded. "All right," she said. "Then what do you want from me now? What else can I do?" The young master looked at her with nothing but disgust in his eyes. "Because she's seriously ill because of you. You owe her. So you must donate your kidney to her. That's the only fair thing to do." Brilliant. This was practically an organ robbery. I honestly hadn't seen that coming. Even the domineering CEO's expression changed. He wiped the blood from his nose, his face growing even more arrogant. "My sister's kidney is supposed to be traded for your lowly cousin's life. Do family boy, it's getting cold. Maybe it's time for your family to go bankrupt too." At first, I was furious hearing his statement. I choked up, unable to find words. The domineering CEO patted my shoulder. Through gritted teeth, he said, "Hurry up, girl. Use everything you've got to piss him off for me." Me? What skills do I even have for that? Seeing me hesitating and struggling with the domineering CEO, the eldest daughter shook her head. She looked back at the young master, male lead, and quietly turned on the video recording feature on her phone. "Sorry, I wasn't paying attention just now. Could you repeat what you said for me?" The young master froze for a moment, but he didn't suspect a thing. After all, in his mind, all women were the same. Weak, pretty, brainless. How could they ever dare to set up a great and outstanding male lead like him? So without any hesitation, he spoke in a calm and cold voice. "Amelia has lost one of her kidneys because of you. I want you to hand over one of your kidneys right now for a transplant. Of course, I'll pay you a sum of money as compensation." Mia stayed silent for a moment. Then she said, "You mean you'll pay to buy my kidney, right? And even if I refuse, you're planning to forcibly take me away against my will? You're planning on forced organ trafficking?" The young master gave a cold laugh, his tone full of arrogance. "That's right." The eldest daughter sighed, ended the video recording, and made a phone call. 10 minutes later, a police car arrived with sirens blaring. The officers who got out were fully armed, fierce as tigers and wolves, and surprisingly handsome. It was as if a whole squad of male lead-level police officers had come. They immediately restrained the young master on the spot. The young master looked utterly stunned, his shirt wrinkled, hair disheveled, handcuffed and held tightly by 2 officers. He simply couldn't believe it, and shouted, "How could you treat me like this?" But the eldest daughter didn't even look at him. Calmly, she handed over the video evidence. "Amelia was harmed because of you. If not for you, who else could have hurt her? You owe her," she said plainly. Silence. The police officer barked. "You're the one engaged in illegal organ trafficking, aren't you? Take him away." And just like that, all of us watched as the young master was taken straight to the police station. I, a humble side character wandering here and there, working wherever I could, felt that today was truly special. Because today, in this crazy world, I had made a friend. Her name was Mia Davis, a true eldest daughter. What should she do now? She seemed a little lost after having the male lead. The young master, taken away by the police. In my life from now on, there will be no male lead anymore. Without the male lead, How can I still be the female lead? She said, a bit confused. I replied, then just stop being the female lead. After all, your role as the female lead was all about physical and emotional suffering. It's fine not to play that role. She looked at me and suddenly smiled. That's right, she said. It's fine not to be the female lead. Next to us, the overbearing CEO, seeing his brother-in-law being taken away, looked as if he might be blown away by the wind. He didn't quite understand what was happening. He was utterly shocked. The overbearing CEO, unable to accept it, grabbed me and asked, if she doesn't become the female lead, then what? What about my sister? Why do you even care about her? I impatiently pushed him away. If she doesn't want to, she doesn't have to. She live her own life, and as long as she lives well, that's enough. How do you know she'll be able to live well? He was on the verge of going crazy. You've never even been a female lead yourself. His words came to an abrupt halt, and he stared at me stunned. I smiled at him. I was never a female lead before, I said. And now I'm doing just fine. Isn't that good enough? This world is crazy, absurd, and foolish. When women are locked inside kitchens and bedrooms, people are somehow surprised that their vision is narrow. They break her wings, then lament that she doesn't know how to fly. They hope for a future for her, yet chain her down in the present. So may we look far and wide. May we soar high. May we be forever and ever unafraid, and always bravely move forward. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to hear more great stories as soon as they're released.